I woke up and reached for her. The sheets beside me were cold, untouched. I blinked, sat up and looked at the bed. It was empty, the pillow smooth, as if no one had ever laid their head there. Panic shot through me. Just hours ago I had heard her breathing soft and steady, right next to me. I had whispered good night. I had felt her hand brush against mine under the blanket. But now nothing. I stumbled into the hallway calling her name. My voice echoed through the house, sharp against the silence. No answer. My chest tightened. I checked the kitchen, the bathroom, even the backyard. Empty. Not a single trace of her. When I asked the neighbors, they stared at me blankly. "Who?" one of them said, tilting his head. I repeated her name, my voice shaking. "The girl who's been staying with me." He frowned. "You live alone." "Always have." My stomach dropped. I went to my parents, desperate for help. My mom looked confused. My dad let out a dry laugh. "You're not making sense. There's no girl here. You've been by yourself this whole time." Their words hit me like stones. I shouted, "That's not true. She was here. She was right here last night." My mom shook her head, pity in her eyes. My dad muttered, "You need sleep." But I knew I wasn't crazy. I remembered her voice, her touch, her laugh in the dark. I remembered the way she whispered secrets she said no one else knew. I remembered how real it all felt. And yet, in the daylight, it was as if she had been erased. Not just from my house, but from everyone's memory. The bed was still cold, and I was left staring at the empty space beside me, wondering if she had ever been there at all. I refused to let it go. All day I searched the house, tearing through drawers, opening closets, flipping through piles of clothes. There had to be something. Her hair tie on the floor, her toothbrush in the bathroom, her sweater on the chair. But everywhere I looked there was nothing. Not a single trace of her remained. The blanket that had been pulled halfway over her body last night was perfectly folded. The glass of water she kept on her side of the nightstand was gone. Even the faint perfume that always lingered near her pillow had disappeared. It was like the room had swallowed her whole. I kept telling myself I wasn't imagining it. I remembered her warmth beside me, her voice whispering in the dark. "You're the only one who sees me." Those words weren't a dream. I heard them. They were real. But when I showed my parents her photograph on my phone, the image wasn't there. The file was blank. White. I scrolled through hundreds of pictures, desperate until my hands shook. She was gone from everyone. Not a single trace of her face remained. When I asked my sister, she tilted her head and laughed. "What are you talking about? You've never brought anyone here. You've never even dated." Her tone was sharp, mocking, as if I had told the dumbest joke. My friends said the same. "You must have been dreaming, man. You're working too hard. Stress does things." Each denial made my stomach twist tighter, my mind spinning faster. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't dreaming. I knew what I saw. That night I couldn't eat. I sat in the living room replaying every memory. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous. The way she hummed when she thought I was asleep. The way she clutched my arm like the world was out to get her. How could all of that vanish? My parents passed by, whispering to each other, throwing me worried glances. My father muttered, "He's losing it." My mother whispered, "Maybe he needs help." Their voices cut me deeper than knives. They didn't believe me. They thought I was breaking apart. But I knew the truth. I remembered her laugh echoing in this house. I remembered the dent on her side of the bed. And most of all, I remembered the fear in her voice when she said, "Don't let them know I'm here." At the time I thought it was a joke. Now I realized it was a warning. The more they denied her, the more I started seeing patterns. My sister's smirk whenever I mentioned her name. My mother quickly changing the subject. My father shaking his head too quickly. His eyes hardening in a way that wasn't just disbelief, it was control. They weren't confused. They weren't clueless. They were hiding something. One evening when I pressed again, demanding to know where she had gone, my father's voice turned sharp. "Enough. Stop chasing shadows." My mother added, "The more you talk like this, the crazier you sound. Is that what you want?" Their words weren't just denial anymore. They were a threat. I lay awake in the cold bed, staring at the ceiling. My fists clenched around the blanket she had once pulled over herself. If she was gone, they knew why. And if they said she never lived here, it was because they had made sure no one would ever believe me. And that realization lit a fire inside me. Because if she had been erased, then I was the only one left who could prove she was real. And I wasn't going to let her vanish without a fight. I stopped sleeping. Every night I sat awake, staring at the empty bed, waiting for the sound of her breath to return. Sometimes I swore I could hear it, the soft rhythm of her chest rising and falling, but when I turned my head, the sheets were still cold. My body ached from exhaustion, but my mind wouldn't let me rest. I had to know what happened to her. I started digging. I went through every drawer, every cabinet, every box in the basement. If they wanted me to believe she never existed, they must have hidden her things somewhere. Days passed, my hands raw from pulling open old crates, my clothes covered in dust. Then I found it. A ribbon tucked inside an old shoebox. It was hers. I remembered tying it in her hair when she laughed and said, "You make it crooked, but it feels right." My hands shook as I held it. Proof. She was real. But when I showed it to my parents, they didn't even blink. My mother smirked. "It's yours. You must have put it there." My father leaned close, his voice a low growl. "Keep this up and you'll regret it." His words weren't denial anymore. They were warning. I started noticing the cracks. My sister avoided me, her eyes darting whenever I asked questions. Once I overheard her on the phone whispering, "He's getting close. What if he remembers too much?" The second she saw me, she slammed the door shut. My stomach twisted. They weren't confused. They weren't concerned. They were guilty. One evening, I confronted them all at dinner. My fork clattered against the plate as I said, "Where is she?" My mother's hand froze. My sister's face turned pale. My father slammed his glass down so hard it cracked. "She was never here," he roared, but his eyes betrayed him. There was fear in them. Real fear. That was when I knew whatever happened to her, they were part of it. After that night, they stopped pretending. My door was locked from the outside when I slept. My phone went missing for 2 days. They whispered to each other when they thought I couldn't hear. "He won't stop asking. Then we'll make sure he does." Their voices slithered through the walls, each word chilling my bones. But the more they tried to silence me, the more determined I became. I began keeping notes. Every slip of their tongues, every strange glance, every inconsistency. I wrote it all down, page after page, because if they wanted to erase her, I would carve her memory into something they couldn't destroy. One night, I found something I wasn't supposed to. In the attic, hidden behind a stack of boxes, was her journal. My hands trembled as I opened it. The first page carried her handwriting, shaky but clear. "If he ever finds this, it means they got to me. Don't trust them. Don't let them say I was never here." My vision blurred. The pages were filled with pieces of her. Notes about nights we spent together. Fears she whispered only to me. Drawings she made of us lying side by side. That journal was the crack in the wall. Proof they couldn't deny. But it also made one thing clear. She hadn't disappeared on her own. She hadn't walked away. She had been taken, silenced, by the very people who now stared at me as if I were crazy. And if they thought they could bury her forever, they didn't realize they had left me holding the shovel. I waited until the house was asleep. Their footsteps faded, the lights clicked off one by one, and silence sank over the walls that had been lying to me for weeks. I crept to the attic, clutching her journal tight against my chest. My hands shook as I turned to the last page I hadn't dared read until now. Her words were scrawled, rushed, desperate. "If they tell you I was never here, it's because they made me disappear. Don't stop searching. Don't let them erase me." The letters burned into me. My breath came fast, but my mind was clear. They thought they could gaslight me into silence, bury her memory until even I doubted myself. But she had left proof. I wasn't crazy. She was real. She was missing. And my own family had something to do with it. I went back downstairs, every step echoing like thunder. I walked into the living room, where my parents sat half awake in front of the TV, and dropped the journal onto the coffee table. My father's eyes widened. My mother's lips parted. My sister froze in the doorway behind them. "I found her words," I said, my voice steady. "I found her." For a moment no one moved. Then my mother whispered, "Where did you get that?" Her voice trembled. Not with shock. With fear. My father reached for the book, but I yanked it back. "You lied to me," I said. "Every day. Every night. You told me she never lived here. You tried to make me doubt my own mind. But she was here. She trusted me. And now she's gone because of you." The room cracked open. My sister's face drained of color. "You weren't supposed to find it," she muttered. My father shot her a glare, but it was too late. The words slipped. Proof. They had hidden her, erased her, and now the truth had spilled through the cracks. Rage swelled inside me, but beneath it was something heavier: grief. I had spent nights clinging to the cold side of the bed, wondering if I was losing my sanity, when all along they had been weaving lies around me like a cage. "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why did you do this to her?" To me. No one answered. My mother dropped her gaze, shame flickering in her eyes. My father clenched his fists, jaw tight, but he said nothing. And my sister turned her head away, as if looking at me would turn her to stone. Their silence was the loudest confession I had ever heard. I stood there shaking, then opened the journal to the first page and read aloud her words. Line after line. Her voice came alive through mine, filling the room, forcing them to hear what they had tried to bury. My mother wept quietly. My sister covered her face. My father slammed his hand against the table, but his fury only made the truth louder. When I finished, I closed the book with a snap. "She was real," I said. "And no matter what you do, no matter how many lies you tell, she will always be real." I walked upstairs to my room, leaving them in their silence, their guilt pressing down like chains. That night, I lay on the bed where she had once slept, her side still cold. But I didn't feel crazy anymore. I didn't feel lost. I felt certain. In the days that followed, my family stopped speaking to me. They avoided my eyes, moved through the house like shadows. But I didn't care. I kept her journal close, her ribbon tucked in my pocket, reminders that she had existed, and that I wasn't alone in remembering her. They could erase her from photographs, from stories, even from their own mouths, but they couldn't erase her from me. Sometimes, late at night, I still feel the mattress dip as if someone has lain down beside me. I hear the faint hum she used to sing when she thought I was asleep. Maybe it's my mind. Maybe it's her lingering just beyond reach. But I always whisper back, "I didn't forget you. I never will." And in that moment, the cold side of the bed doesn't feel so empty anymore.